Hello, I'm Stuart Tucker, and this is a meditation for May 26, 2020. Really, it's an invitation to meditate on a particular verse of scripture that is a tough one, and it's from the book of Romans, Paul's letter to the Romans, the 8th chapter, which is a really packed chapter, by the way, one of my favorites. And the verse in chapter 8 is verse 28, and it says, "We know that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose." That's a tough verse, isn't it? All things work to the good. Actually, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, who are called to his purpose. Now, it's important to note what it doesn't say. It doesn't say that all things that happen are good. Obviously, bad things happen. The author Paul, the Apostle Paul, had bad things happen to him. He was beaten and left for dead. He was thrown into a dungeon. He was shipwrecked, snake bit. I mean, all kinds of things happened to him. And yet he was able to say, "We know that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose." And those are important qualifiers. Because if you don't love the Lord, then I'm sorry, this passage doesn't apply to you. Sorry. And it also says that all things work together for good. All things work together. So it's not that an individual event is good in and of itself. It's a statement of faith that in terms of our whole journey, all things work together in spite of the bad things that happen. But when it's taken in sum of everything together, if we love the Lord, if we are called to his purpose, then indeed all things work to move us in a direction that is good. It's hard to think of a pandemic as being good in any sense, way, sense, or form. Obviously, it's horrible. The death toll in our country alone is just about at 100,000. And that's not a number. These are individuals. These are grieving families now. This is untold suffering. And yet, can we think of ways in which the sum of all this has worked for good in our lives? Have good things come out of this? Are we closer to the people we love as a result of this? Are we more careful when we're dealing with strangers? Maybe we should have been more careful all along. I've seen a lot of men walk out of public restrooms without washing their hands over my life. So much that even before this pandemic was going on, I would take a paper towel and use it on the doorknob, because there's no sense in washing your hands and then touching a doorknob. You know that the guy right in front of you hasn't washed his hands. Maybe this raises our conscience a little better. Personally, Karen and I have been eating better. We've been eating local. We've availed ourselves of new technology. I'll be honest, I would never in the world have thought of, recording myself and putting myself on Facebook and on the web, just so that people could, listen to me. It seemed kind of a vain thing to do, and yet it's done good. It's been good for me in my own spiritual life, and I hope it's been good for you who keep on watching it week, day after day. Good things can come from bad situations if we love the Lord if we're called to his purpose. So my challenge is to think about your experience, your situation. What good has happened to you in these last couple of months? That is my meditation for today, May 26, 2020. Goodbye. God bless you all.